Watching guys, today we're taking a look at this new Rufus trick that allows you to install Windows 11 silently and without any sort of bloatware. That's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So what is Rufus? Well, Rufus is a free open source tool that creates a bootable USB drive. If you've ever got frustrated when installing Windows 11, where you're forced into Microsoft accounts and loads of other settings you have to go through, well, Rufus takes care of all of that and makes things a breeze to install Windows 11 the way you want it and the settings you want. So the new version of Rufus 4.14 beta release, which was released on April 21st, 2026, adds a new option to disable or remove pre-installed Microsoft apps such as Copilot, Teams, Outlook during the fresh install of Windows 11, which is what we're doing right here. It also introduces a fully silent, unattended installation mode, which you can use to basically silently install Windows. So I'm just going to head over to Rufus's website here and download the actual file that we need. Now it's in beta at the moment, so we're going to go down to the download section and you should see Rufus 4.14 beta.exe, and that's the one we're going to be downloading, and I'll show you all of the settings inside here and what they actually mean. So let me click on the beta version right here and I'll download this to my downloads folder right here. So I'm just going to save it inside the downloads section. And once this comes down, it's a very small download, we can then open it up. Now you will need a flash drive to be able to create your bootable media. I've got mine plugged in right here. It does say HBCD on it, but don't worry, we can change the name of that later on once we open up Rufus. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on the actual executable file, and now it's open. It should look something like this. So what does it all mean? Well, up the very top device, this is your USB drive that you've just plugged in. Below that, we do have boot selection, and this is for your Windows ISO that you're using. So you can click on select and select the ISO from your downloads folder, which you've already downloaded from Microsoft's website. So let's go ahead and do that right here and click open. And you can now see we have our ISO selected. Image options, this is going to be a standard install for Windows. GPT is for modern UEFI, and MBR if you're on older BIOS versions, you can select that one, but we're on a modern day computer and modern day UEFI BIOS. Also, we need the UEFI non-CSM selection right here on GPT because that's what we're going to be selecting on here. So let's move on down to the next section, which is the name, volume name. This is just going to be the name of your USB flash drive. So I'm going to change the name to something more recognizable like Windows 11-25H2, something like that. And we also have our file system. NTFS is perfectly fine, and the cluster size is perfectly fine there. So now click on Start, and this is where we're going to get our options. Now inside the Windows user experience, i.e. the Windows 11 customization options, you can select which ones you want. Now you don't need to select all of these, you only need to select the ones that you actually need. For instance, remove requirements for 4GB plus RAM, Secure Boot and TPM 2.0. This is for older systems that are trying to install Windows 11 on old systems. You've got remove requirements for online Microsoft account. That it means you can create a local account with the username, i.e. admin in this case. You can set the region options to same values of this user on the computer that you're using. So in this case, it will be United Kingdom International. And also we have disabled data collection, skip privacy questions, and you've got disabled BitLocker automatic device encryption at the startup because this is normally turned on by default. So you can disable all of these and you can uncheck which ones you don't need to use. So if you're on a modern day computer and you don't need to remove the requirements, then just uncheck them. It's that simple. But if you need them, obviously you can check whatever you like. Now we've got this one right here, which is the quality of life option. This is a first new option we're going to take a look at. When you enable this checkmark, Rufus configures the installation to disable and remove Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Outlook, Copilot, and all of the other bloat that comes with Windows. So this is sort of de-bloating those. If you want to do that, checkmark it. Now this one right here, you have to be super careful. This is your silent installation option. When you enable this, Rufus creates the media that automatically installs Windows 11 on the first disk. So it'll be probably disk 0. It detects that disk and without question, it's going to erase that disk and install Windows onto that first disk. Be careful what options you select here. If you use this option, please make sure to disconnect every other disk in the targeted PC and just leave the OneDrive that you're going to be installing Windows onto. Otherwise, you run the risk of erasing drives that you might not want erased. And this method is a silent install, which means it's going to erase the disk and install Windows 11 onto that disk. And it's not going to ask any questions. It's just going to do it. So it's a really risky thing if you don't understand what this is. So obviously use this at your own risk. I will not be held responsible for any loss of data done on your PC if you use this method and you follow this video's instructions. I'm not telling you to use it. You use this at your own risk. You can now choose which version of Windows you want to install. In this case, it will be Windows 11 Pro. And there's some other options down here which were previously on the other build. It says right there, this option is if you plan to install Windows with the latest signed bootloader certificates on the system. And then you've got use this option if you want to revoke additional potentially unsafe Windows bootloaders. But we're going to skip those two at the bottom here because that's not for this video. But we're just going to be taking a look at the two new versions. Now, when you click OK, it's going to give you a major warning because you are checking that silently. You can see you have selected to use the silent Windows installation option. This is an advanced option reserved for people who want to create media that does not prompt the user during the Windows installation and therefore unconditionally erases the first detected disk of the targeted system. If you are not careful, using this option can result in irreversible data loss, and I've highlighted those in red. If this is not what you want, please select no and go back and uncheck this option. Otherwise, if you select yes, you agree to the whole responsibility for any data loss will be entirely on you. And this is basically what it's telling you. You run the risk if you checkmark this and say yes. So what is it? Well, basically, if you've got OneDrive in the system, this feature will overwrite everything on the first disk, i.e. in this case, disk 0. It's going to erase all of that data without any confirmation, without any prompts. It's just going to erase it. So it's really risky if you've got other drives plugged in or you've got some sort of different lettering or different disk 0 is a different drive. It's going to erase that first disk. And this is the bit you need to be very careful of because for some reason, if your disk 0 is another drive with all your data on it and disk 1 is your Windows drive, it's going to erase that disk 0 and you could end up losing all of your data. So it's really risky if you don't understand about disk management and basically what drive will be erased. And this is what we call an unattended install or silent install. It's basically going to install Windows silently in the background. So when you click yes, it's going to create your bootable USB flash drive. You can plug that into your computer, boot to it, and it will do all of the stuff for you and basically get you to the desktop, remove the bloatware, install Windows silently, and answer all the questions and create a local account. That's basically what it's going to do. I'm not going to be covering that in this video. I just wanted to quickly show you some of the new features of Rufus. So basically, it's creating some sort of auto unattended .xml file like you've seen me create videos on before, where it silently installs Windows with all your settings. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Big shout out to my YouTube members. I really do appreciate the support. Hope you all have a lovely weekend and I shall catch you on the Discord server or in the next video. Bye for now.